Hello everyone, Sean here. I'm going to take a few minutes to go over how to create a well-designed homepage for your online course in Canvas. The page that you see here is from my History of Rock and Roll class. So my goal for this video is to talk through the elements of a well-designed homepage and then go through the steps to create this home page from a blank page. First of all, a home page is important for an online course because it offers a starting point for students when they first enter your class. It's a landing point, so when they first enter, they see that they are in the right place. It's the right course, the course they signed up for. They see this is in fact taught by a human being. Here's the teacher. A video of yourself is always a good thing, a brief welcome. Think about when students first come into a classroom in person, they actually get to see you and interact with you. Well, this is a good way to, it doesn't replace that, but it sort of replicates it in the online environment. And then they have the information on how to get started. And I always like to include an overview of what the semester will look like. Now, from the student view, we want to see what that looks like. And I have good reason for one specific good reason to see it from the student view. So as the instructor, you see more than what the student sees. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Canvas Student View tool. So I select the button here, and this is similar to what students will see. Looks very much the same. The key difference is the course navigation menu to the left has a certain number of links. Doesn't have as many as you'll see in the instructor view. And a minimal set of links works well for students and their overall navigation because you really want them to have available to them exactly what they'll need. No more, no less. So in this case, I have all the course content, including activities, assignments, discussion forums, multimedia, text that they're reading, everything in the modules area. And that is because the modules is the tool that Canvas provides us to really organize and arrange our units so that we're chunking the information into units, whether they be weekly or bi-monthly. They have the course broken up into distinct sections. So in a later video, I'll talk about modules more in depth. So let's go ahead and leave the student view and let's start building out this same home page so that we see how to bring text in, how to bring images, how to bring video and links, and even create a button here. So we'll do a little bit with HTML. So I also have this same page opened up in a separate tab. So that will be my reference point. So now what I'll do, and if you're following along, go ahead and locate the pages link in the navigation menu, select it, and then if you need to, select the View All Pages button. Now I already have pages. You may or may not already have pages, but everyone should have this blue Add Page button. So go ahead and select that button. And the first thing I'll do is title the page. And here is my text editor. This is the same editor that you will see for any page in your course, not just the home page. And this is where I can I can type in text, I can copy and paste text, I can bring in video, images, audio, links. It's very powerful. So I do all of that by using the rich content editor here at the top. So I will be using that. Now, to get started, I'm going to begin with the 3 titles or the 3 headings: the welcome, the getting started, and fall 2021. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in. Welcome. And now that is in its own line of text, its own paragraph section. So I will press the return enter button on my keyboard, and that now provides me with a new line of text, a new paragraph section, and then again for fall 2021. So now this is my starting point, and I want to show you in the HTML what this looks like. So down here I see the 2 brackets with the / in the middle. I select that icon, and the reason I want you to see this is because this is how text and items are arranged in a page, right? Or anywhere where you're using the rich content editor. Each line of text is noted by opening and closing paragraph tag, okay? So, or p tags. Opening p tag, closing p tag. So what I have here is 3 separate sections of text that I can flesh out to be a full paragraph. So if I toggle back, now I have that in mind, right? It's helping me to navigate how I am bringing content into the page just by understanding how it's brought in and what the HTML looks like. All right, so I will continue, and the next text that I have here, you can see I have a paragraph, I have another paragraph, and then I have my name on a line of paragraph text. So what I'll do here is I will go ahead and just select all this text, and I'll copy it, and I'm going to show you that I'm going to put this on a new line of text. So I'll put the cursor at the end of welcome and press the return enter button. And now I'm going to right click and select paste and match style. Okay, so I pasted and I matched style. And you may ask, Sean, why'd you do that? Well, when I select that paste and match style, what it does is it removes any formatting that might be in that text. And you can check it by looking again at the p tags. So there's nothing but plain text in each paragraph section. That's important because you could, from copying and pasting from a lot of different sources, end up cluttering your page with a lot of formatting that might go crazy on you, right? When you're bringing in different types of, and even multimedia and whatnot. So I'm going to keep using that tool. Okay, so I'll continue. Oh, I also wanted to show you that part of this text is the description, the course description. You can always find your course outline of record. You can just search, do a web search, type in your campus name, and then type in Curricunet. And then that way you could actually go in and just copy and paste that and paste as plain text again. So you're not dealing with formatting. So I'm going to keep moving on here. I have some more line of text. Copy this, and under getting started, and I'll use my paste and match style. And then see here that it actually added an extra line of paragraph text with nothing there. you want to make sure that those are not kept in there. So I'm just going to hit the delete button. And that way, why? Because when we start talking about like how to format this page for screen readers, it's important that we also do things properly so that a student who is depending on a screen reader to read back to them, for example, visually impaired students, they don't want the screen reader to get hung up reading to the student. It would read out non-breaking space, right? So we don't need those extra spaces. It may seem like a good idea to, well, I want to create more white space, but really, I recommend that you just trust the space that's already built into the design for our rich content editor text field. Okay, so I'll keep moving on. And then for the schedule, let me go ahead and copy and paste this in. And you'll see that I already have some formatting here. But again, I'm going to use paste and match style to just keep that as unformatted text. All right. And I can even look at the HTML and see they're all in their own p tags. Great. We're doing great. Let me go back here. And now this is the accessibility that we follow for text. Whenever you have headings, I have 3 headings on this page. Currently, they are not assigned any heading styles. They are all just paragraph text, okay? But here's the proper way to do it. The title is automatically given a heading 1 style. So any main headings in the page need to be given a heading 2 style. It has to follow the hierarchy. So there's only one heading 1, and then there can be several heading 2s, and then subheadings as heading 3s, and subheadings as heading 4. So welcome is my first heading 2. I'm just going to put the cursor somewhere in that line of text because it's going to affect everything in that paragraph section. And then I will select heading 2. So you see the font size changes, but what's important is that the heading 2 is assigned to it. The screen reader will pick up on all the heading 2s, and a student using the screen reader is able to jump from one main heading to the next, and that's a way to help them navigate what we would otherwise navigate visually. So I'll continue here. Getting started is my next heading 2. And then fall 21 is my next heading 2. All right, see how the page is already beginning to break up in a good way, right? We call that page chunking. So it's clean, it visually, it makes sense, there's enough space, the headings stand out. So we are on track. Let me show you in the HTML also that when you assign it heading 2, you'll see that H2 tag. And the same here, right? So we are doing HTML by just using the tools that we have. So we're not really needing to toggle into the HTML. All right, let's keep moving forward. Oh, and another thing is, as you are editing your page, get into the habit of just saving every so often, because if anything happens, right, you'll have that saved. And you get a sense of how the page is developing. So, good. I'm going to go ahead and edit again. And let's start bringing in some media. This History of Rock and Roll banner is an image. It's a PNG file. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in that banner. I want that banner to be above welcome. So I need to put the cursor at the beginning of welcome and then return enter on the keyboard. And now I have this space above. So I just arrowed up to it. Now notice that it kept that heading 2, but I don't need that image to be in a heading 2. So I'm just going to change it back to paragraph. And now I'm going to use my images tool. So now I can upload an image from my computer. So you want to make sure that whatever images you're going to bring in, it's already on your device. So you can drag and drop it in, or you can just click here and you are now able to access your computer. So there's my PNG file. I select it, I open, and you'll see that this is the file name. All right, but we want to type in the alt text, because the alt text is, again, what the screen reader will read to students that use a screen reader. So history of rock and roll, I want them, if you have text in your image that you want students to read, then you want the alt text to be what students will read. If it's just decorative, you could check this box as a decorative image, and then essentially the screen reader will ignore it. All right, so I select submit, and now the image is in place. And what about the size of the image, right? If I go to the HTML, I can see that currently there's nothing assigned for the width and the height, but I want to show you something. If I go to image options and I see that it's set to 895 width and 122 height, I'm going to just select done. So now I go back to HTML and it gives me that option to change this. And the reason I want to do that is because for banners, it's always good to change this to 100% for each width and height, each dimension. Why is that? Because now it will retain its ratio, and depending on the size of the screen, it will be responsive. So that's always good, right? For something like a banner that you want it to be full, the full width of the screen. So there's another little trick that you can use to have a nice broad banner. Let me go ahead and save here. And as you can see, there's my banner. So let's keep moving on. The next thing I will do is bring in my video. So the video will follow my name. So I enter into a new line of text, and I created this video in YouTube, and I recommend that you create a brief welcome video. It's always nice for students to have you with that little message that you give them, just saying hello and welcome. And in YouTube, you will use the share button at the bottom of the video. And then what we're going to do is we're going to embed the video. So I'm going to select the embed option. And then this code, I'm just going to use this copy button here and go back to the page. And I don't need to actually go into the HTML code. I can go to the three-dot menu and use this cloud icon. So I select this, and in here, I can go ahead and just paste that code into the embed code. So just a convenience tool. So for the width, 560 and the height 315, I actually retain this ratio, but I reduce it to a 400 by 225. And you may ask why. Let me go ahead and submit here. And reason being is because as I'm designing, I'm also keeping in mind the mobile app. So in the mobile app, in my experience, the 400 width sits really nicely on something like an iPhone. So that way, the video, it's a good size on pretty much any device. It's a good ratio. I don't want it to be 100% because in this case, I don't want the video to take the full width of the page. So now the embed created a nice frame where students are literally accessing YouTube directly in the Canvas page. Next, I am going to create a Start Here button, which is essentially a link. So we start out with the Start Here link. So I'll go ahead and create a new line of text, type in Start Here. And just as I have here, the instructions to begin, please select the Start Here button. So I'm going to create a link out of this text. So to create a link here, I do need to highlight the text that will be linked. So I'm going to select Start Here. And now I'm going to use the link tool and the chevron to the right of the icon. I am going to select Course Links because what I'm actually going to link them to is a module. And I'm going to link them to the orientation module under the modules group. So I go ahead and select that. Now, I understand that you may not have any modules completed yet in your course. So you can just leave the text here as a placeholder until you're ready to link it. No problem. Okay, so now this is linked. And I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to save the page. So now it's pretty much the page that we started out with. So essentially, it's a done deal here, right? But let me also show you how to make that link a button so that you get a little bit more of that design where it just pops out of the page a little bit more. Once you have text that's linked, and let me also add this, right? Any text that you have linked, you want that text to make sense to what they are linking to. So Start Here makes sense because I've explained that that's what's going to take them to the orientation module. So that said, let's go ahead and make a button out of this. So I'm going to go to the HTML editor. Now notice that you have what Canvas calls the pretty HTML editor. There's also the raw editor that is just plain text. And then you can toggle to the pretty editor and you can see the color coding to help you more quickly find items in the HTML. A link is always noted by this bracket A. So in between here, there is bracket A space title. So in this space area, I'm going to go ahead and space bar an extra space, and I'm just going to type in this code that is class equals open quote button close quote. That's it. A space class equals open quote button close quote, and I believe that the B must be capitalized for it to work. So I'm going to go ahead and save the page. Voila, here we go. We have a banner, we have a welcome message, we have a video, we have a getting started section with a button. Great. So when even students hover over the button, it changes shade. And then we have the fall 2021 calendar. So we can compare it to the page that we started out with. Looks good. Okay, just a little bit more formatting here that I have in the calendar. So I will quickly show you what I did there. And there's not much to it there. I simply just 1, 2, 3, highlight and bold. Highlight and bold. So let me say also that text, if you want to give it any emphasis, right? You can use bold, you can use italics, but avoid the underline because underline can confuse students with it being, if it's not a linked text, if it's not hyperlink, I should say, then You don't want it to be underlined. Okay. So I went ahead and 1, 2, 3. I bolded the dates. And then all I did was under each module, I will go and use the indent tool. So I'll just click in front of each module and use my indent tool. And that, see, using these tools, it's great to do that because, you might be tempted to say, to go with your space bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, the screen readers are going to read all of those spaces. So you don't want that. You want to use the tool, because what the tool does is it properly formats in the style area in the HTML. So I did that. And now we have our home page. We're doing great. So the last thing that we want to do is assign it to be the home page in Canvas. So I'm going to go, so right now, this welcome page, I put 2 exclamations so that it doesn't confuse with the actual welcome page I originally created. So I'm going to go back to, all that to say, this is just the page right now. It's not the home page. So if I select the home link, it looks similar, but it takes me back to my original page. Now, on the home page, locate the Choose Home Page button. Canvas defaults to the home page being the course modules. So I'm going to select that for now and save. So when you first go into your course, you might see that this is empty, but it has a prompt for you to start building out modules. So as you can see here, I already have modules. So the home page is currently set to the modules area. So I want to change that, okay? So I am going to say choose home page. So I'll select choose home page, and then pages front page. This is the option that I want. Now, if you do not yet have a page that is assigned as the front page, then you'll need to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save. There's my original page. Okay, but let's say I don't have, I didn't start with the home page. So I need to go to the pages area, and I need to locate what I just created. So see how the original welcome page is assigned the front page? So now I have this welcome with the 2 exclamation points. If you did happen to name it the same as a page that, this is kind of a side note, but as a page that already had the name, it will automatically add a -2. Okay. But in either case, I go to the far right and I select the 3-dot menu, and then I select use as front page. So now my new welcome page is in fact the home page. And there you have it. This is on the home page. Let me check my link. Start here. Yes, and it takes me to the orientation module and opens it up for me. All right, we're done. We're done with the home page. One last thing I wanted to show you is to go to the settings, and it probably will default to course details, but locate and select the navigation tab. And this is where you can add items in your course navigation menu, like I talked about at the beginning of the video. So you can simply drag and drop items that you want to show to students, or you can use the 3-dot menu to enable. And similarly, you can disable items that you don't want them to see, or drag and drop. Once you have your navigation menu the way you want it, select Save at the bottom, and then you can go back to the home page and check what students will see. So there is the home page. I hope that this is helpful. I did my very best to be clear and precise. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave your questions in the chat on this video. Everyone have an awesome day. Sean out.